Advanced Transition Planning for Dyslexic Pupils. My name's Shirley Lawson and I'm hosting and delivering the webinar today. I do have the support of my friend and colleague Robert, who's in the background. Hi, Robert.
Hi there.
There he is there. And so Robert's going to be doing the recording of it. It's always good to have somebody else in the background there. It's great to see many people logging in today from all over Scotland and further afield. So the webinar today is going to be 20 minutes long. I'm going to deliver content for that length of time, and then there'll be the opportunity to ask questions via the chat pane. As I say, Robert's recording the session and you'll be sent a link to the session by email afterwards there. And please feel free to pass this on to colleagues and anyone else that wants to see it. But of course, you can access any of our archive webinars from our Call Scotland website at no cost. Okay, let's get started. Part of my role here at Call Scotland is doing individual pupil assessments for learners with additional support needs. And I work a lot with a lot of dyslexic pupils, generally with other coexisting difficulties. But by the time they get to primary 7, a level of anxiety seems to build up with just the thought of how they will cope in high school. And this anxiety can start with the pupil themselves or with the parents, who then unintentionally pass it on to the pupil. And it can be a really stressful time for all. So for the pupils I support, I start early in the primary 7 year to make contact with the support for learning teams in high schools to check in to see what existing support they have in place for dyslexic pupils. And of course, my main interest is what technologies are being used to support somebody with literacy difficulties. So sometimes, and generalising hugely here, but in some schools there is a lack of knowledge of what is out there that can help. So take, for example, pupils with reading difficulties who would struggle with web research tasks. They could be using a tool such as Immersive Reader in the class. So I'm just going to start by showing you what that might look like. So doing a couple of demos here. So just going to switch off my camera and you will see me now. So I'm accessing the Edge browser. So take, for example, this is a website that we're looking at. Perhaps you're in high school in a PE or PSE class and you're looking at something to do with healthy living. So website here, text is pretty small. There's tabs at the top. There's a sidebar. That can look quite, not particularly accessible for somebody with a reading difficulty. But because I opened it up in the Edge browser, so the Edge browser is the step up from Internet Explorer, I can go to the top here where I've got the address, the web address, and I see a little book with a speaker icon. So I'm now just going to click into that and you can see what my website looks like now. So much easier to clear interface. It's just, it makes it, without even doing anything else, it just looks a lot more accessible, and it really is. So thinking for the learner that I'm going to be supporting, okay, it's come up with a yellow background. They might say, well, actually, I prefer a kind of aqua colour background. So click on there quickly and you've got the colour that they prefer. Remembering that the worst combination is black text on a white background. So wherever possible, we want to change the background there. I'm going to go to reading preferences here because this pupil that I'm supporting, they tend to, when they're reading, their eyes jump from one line to the above to one line below. If I put on line focus here, I'm not going to have that issue because I'm only seeing one line at a time. They've got dyslexia, they've got a reading difficulty. So here I can just click on read aloud and the text will be read aloud to me.
Being a vegetarian. For much of the world, vegetarian diets are largely a matter of economics. Meat can cost a lot more than beans or rice, so meat is a special occasion dish, if it's eaten at all.
So just pause and play at the top there. We always say for pupils that are using text-to-speech like this to have headphones in so nobody needs to know whether they're reading the text or listening to it. So these 3 simple steps for my primary 7 pupil was absolutely fantastic and supported them. So tools like this make learning materials more inclusive and certainly more accessible. And it's when they're free and built in that everyone should know about them and be using them. So the primary 7 pupil I've got in my mind here, you know, he was getting confident using them, and you want to know there's continuity when he goes to high school. But if he arrives there and nobody knows about it, then there's a problem, and he may or may not feel confident to ask for a laptop or to use a tool like Immersive Reader when nobody else is. So to me, one of the key components of a good primary 7 to S1 transition would be having the same technology in place and everybody knowing how to use it. And so this tool, Immersive Reader, that I've shown you here, is available across all Office 365 applications, and we'll be having a look at that in a little while when we look at OneNote. So further up the school, when they're doing exams and assessments, we want our learners to be using text-to-speech tools that negate the need for a human reader, so that they become a little bit more independent and take ownership of their challenges and have good strategies in place to find solutions. So if I was had an exam paper, so let's say we've got an exam paper here, so we've got a National 5, this is just a past paper, SQA, environmental science paper, and the young person we're working with has reading difficulty, and they would be generally asking for support to have that read out. Well, what the tool that's commonly available in a lot of Scottish schools is Natural Reader. So Natural Reader sits like a little toolbar anywhere on the page you want, and all I have to do is just highlight the text here and click on the play button.
In Scotland's Caledonian forest, a variety of birds, including the chaffinch, siskin and the Scottish crossbill, are found.
And it will read it out to me. Absolutely great to use Natural Reader. It's a free text-to-speech toolbar, and you can use the Scottish voices with it. So that's another reason that we like it. Immersive Reader hasn't quite yet got the Scottish voices. We keep trying to, we keep speaking to Microsoft and encouraging them to add them to the list, but it's not quite happened yet. But if we use Natural Reader, we've got the Scottish voices. So it's another really good tool. The Natural Reader stays on the page. So if I went back to the website, you can see it still stays up on the page there. So for the SQA exam paper, it was really good to be able to have the questions highlighted and spoken out using Natural Reader there. So if we go back to our Call Scotland website, just to show you where you would find more information on that. So in our information tab, and then if I scroll down here, we've got information on text. Reader we're talking about, and then information on Natural Reader. A lot of the devices, in fact, every device will have something built in to provide text-to-speech, and it's a really important thing. So primary 7 pupil who's been using this confidently and in the upper primary, we really want to make sure that there's something going to be in place to provide them with the same text-to-speech, which helps them with their dyslexic difficulties there. So we're going to move on to OneNote now. Let me just put that down there. So I'm opening up a OneNote notebook. So just to give you a little bit of description of what OneNote is. So it's part of the Office 365 suite of applications. I try to think of it like a ring binder, a digital ring binder, where you've got your sections. Could be perhaps different curricular areas, and then within each section you've got different pages. So it's absolutely fantastic for organisation. And in terms of reducing anxiety for the pupil and doing some reassuring for forward planning, the OneNote Digital Notebook has proven to be a great tool. It can be freely accessed through Glow for every pupil and teacher in Scotland. So the other really useful thing is that the notebook can be shared with a teacher. So the pupil sets up their notebook, maybe with support, and then adds in the teacher. So the teacher can view the pupil's work, but also very helpfully can leave in comments, so can discreetly feed back to the pupil, and that can be very supportive. So even within the class setting while they're working, or perhaps for a bit of homework there. So many pupils with dyslexia have weak executive function, or the ability to maintain a sense of the kind of bigger picture. And they can become overwhelmed with the workload in high school and the resources for each subject. So how do we organise that? Well, this transition notebook I set it up in a very simple way, where I had the tabs at the top, so that's the sections. I had just made examples of what it might look like to have an English section there. So this is the English section, and then I've got different pages down the right hand side there. So thinking about this section, this page on books to read, well, all I can do here is I've got inbuilt tools here. So some text I've got here, I've got difficulty reading it. So I just go to the top to learning tools, and I can click it into Immersive Reader View. So the Immersive Reader View has actually opened up on my second screen here, but this is a screenshot of it. So you can see how nicely it has opened up, exactly the same way as when we did it in the Edge browser, and was able to have the colour background that you want, and you've got your different tools there. So clicking on play.
S. Comifson, Nisha's War by Dan Smith. Life is very different in the north on a cold wind-swept cliff-top house.
And it's going to read it out to you there. So very useful for work that you're saving in there, that you're able to have that, the text-to-speech features there. So that was just in the English section there. And the other good things in terms of what's built in, we go back to the Home tab here, you'll see here I've got a little audio file. So very easily I can go to Insert, and I can record audio or video as well. So that's a really useful thing for somebody with a dyslexia or literacy difficulty. Writing, word processing is hard, reading writing's hard, reading feedback's hard. So let's think about multimedia tools. Let's include more audio, and let's include more video. And that is going to be so supportive to the learning there. So just in terms of the feedback, you know, we're always thinking, well, if it's very easy to do something, people are more likely to do it. So the fact you can record video there allowed me just to leave for the pupil a little bit of video feedback. I'll click on this little example here. Hi, I just wanted to pop on here to say thanks very much for your feedback on the book. It was really great to hear your thoughts, and yeah, we'll have to see if we can source some different books by Dan Smith. So just a quick example of what that might actually look like in terms of getting video feedback. So if you have say dyslexia, let's think about getting feedback, teachers providing the feedback in a way that is much more accessible for our learners with reading difficulties. So that was the English section. Just clicking along here, we've got science. Very easy to embed videos into OneNote, which again is a really supportive tool for revision. And that was one of the things one of my pupils had been worried about. They would not remember what had happened in particularly science, or would be able to write things down quickly enough. And so when we talked about using their iPad to take a video that they can then watch later, this seemed like a really good idea. So for the pupil, thinking about this organisational side of things as well. So not only are they taking a video, they're then being able to save it in a place which is very easy for them to access again. So if they opened up their OneNote notebook and they were perhaps on the home page there, I can just go to the search feature here. Just appears quite small there, but say I did an experiment about lava, I'll just put that in the search, and that will just take me directly to the page where we had done the experiment there. So nice, easy, searchable content there, which is another good feature there. So moving along the line here, just quite another quick example about different things. You've got your PE, we're doing a bit again about healthy living. You've got different options. Some pupils might be able to type in there, just got the cursor in there. Others may be able to you could use, if you've got a stylus, you could be using it on a tablet and you can just handwrite in there. You've got options to use drawing tools as well. I'm thinking about, well, what about speech recognition? Would it be possible to use speech recognition there? So I'm just going to click into my online notebook to show you that example. So question is, how many hours do we play outside each day? I could choose Immersive Reader to have that read out to me, but I've got my cursor in here, and you see I've got my little dictation microphone, and that was just activated from clicking on the top here with the dictation microphone. So I'm going to click on that there, and just using the built-in mic on my laptop here, I'm going to give my answer. I play outside for 2 hours at the weekend, and probably not as much as that during the week. Okay, so quick and easy way of giving my answer there. We're often asked about pupils who don't have very clear speech, or they can't get their thoughts together without hesitation, or to actually make speech recognition a possible way of working. That's absolutely not a problem if you're in a OneNote notebook, because I'm just going to go to the top here and I'm going to go to Insert and I'm going to Audio. So this time I'm going to give my answer as an audio file. I eat raspberries and blueberries for breakfast. So just processing it, and now I've got my little MP3 file there. So the teacher, there's notebook shared with the teacher, and then they would just be clicking on that to listen to the recording. I eat raspberries and blueberries for breakfast. So we're always trying to make that point that if a young person, if they actually know the answer to something, we have to provide the tools to them that allows them to demonstrate their learning. So whether it is using speech recognition, using a little audio file, all these ways are really important so that you can assess their cognitive ability there. So if we go back to our other sections here, just in terms of I'm clicking on maths, and this was a good example to reassure the young person that rather than, yes, in the primary school, you're used to posters up on the wall, you're used to things being provided to you on laminated sheets, but here we've got you can just create pages for whatever you want. So we just created a few that would be useful. And just to know that you're not, if you are in maths and you've got these tools there, you've got it on your iPad, you've got it on your laptop, whatever wherever you've opened up OneNote, you're able to have that there. So really, really useful to be able to know that not everything's scrunched up at the bottom of the bag and you're going to be in a panic to find it there. So it's really good to know that you've got that chance for the reminders. And the other one that was important in terms of the transition was to know for this young person that we've got information about the school. So I'd put in a map of the school. Another page was a timetable. So again, everything is saved in the one place. And that is what is so good about OneNote there. So in terms of access to OneNote, this is a good just little graphic to show you the idea. It's cloud-based, so it doesn't matter what device you have opened up OneNote on. So in school, you might be working on a laptop or a PC and you're logged into OneNote. You come home, you log into your iPad, all your work's there. It's automatically saved, it's automatically synced. You could open it on your phone on the way home. There's lots of different options there, and that is a really powerful way to be to see how that can work effectively for somebody with dyslexia who would probably tend to have organizational difficulties. And just to show you that look like, I'm going to open this page here, but I'm going to bring over my iPad. So been working on the laptop at school. I've now come home. I'm now on my iPad. So I'm going to do a little example of me adding some text to this page. So I'm now clicking on my page on my iPad here. Let's make the text a bit bigger so that we can see it. So I'm going to use down here, I've got speech recognition. I'm going to use the little microphone and I'm going to speak, and the text should appear on the page here. I can use speech recognition on my iPad for my homework, and it's all saved automatically. Okay, almost got that right. It's got iPod instead of iPad. But the main thing I want to see that this is me on my iPad. So I've done this bit of work. So now I come back to school, and what you should be seeing here, that this, just give it a little bit of time, will sync automatically, and that text will appear on the page. So sometimes you need to refresh it. Other times it will just update itself. If in fact I go back to the online version that we were looking at earlier, if I go back here, and then I can go to OneNote Tools, and you can see it has. So on the online version, it's automatically updated. This is my built-in one, and it's not quite got to that one yet. So just so easy to have these tools there ready to go. Helping students with dyslexia learning how to organise time, work and materials is a big part of scaffolding their cognitive development. So now that the pupils are familiar with the likes of OneNote Digital Jotter, we want to make sure that teachers know about it too. And there's lots of really good resources out there. Here's an example of a really good page. I'm going to actually just put that, copy and paste that into the chat panel so that you've got that there. Lots of good resources here on getting started with OneNote, and some quick and easy videos too. So I'd absolutely recommend that to have a look at there. Okay, so just thinking, I mean, this is such a whirlwind session, but it's worth getting started with it. I'm going to just think about, you know, a dyslexic learner could be described as being print disabled. So providing them with paper resources could be a barrier to their learning. So for them to have the best chance of success, they need to follow a digital curriculum. So in my mind, these are the four main things that need to be in place for this to happen. They need to have a dedicated device. They need to have that device with them at all times. So it's finding out when they go into high school, are they going to be at a school where they have bring your own device and they can have it set up and personalised? Do they have open Wi-Fi in order for them to be when they're bringing in their own device? If not, they need to access a school device. So we need to know ahead what's being used in the high school. Is it an authority where we've got iPads, Chromebooks, Windows laptops, or is it a mix? But the ideal scenario is that it would be continuing on what they were using in upper primary when they get to high school. Here we've got saying digital resources. So pupils need to be provided with digital resources ahead of time so that they can use the assistive tools to help with the literacy difficulties. That can take a bit of planning and organisation amongst all your sort of curricular subject teachers, but we want to think of this universal design for learning approach, and quite often preparing resources in the correct way for one learner is the correct way for everyone, and everyone can access them in a slightly different way. So it's good to think of it that way. Assistive technology tools, all devices have built-in accessibility features to support literacy difficulties, but make sure the pupil knows how to use them. Make sure the teachers know what helps the pupil and encourage them to use it. And ideally model it to all learners. We're always thinking about when the teacher switches on their interactive whiteboard in the morning and mirroring up their laptop, put up something like Natural Reader. So if you've got text on the board and you come to a particularly difficult word, then you can just say, well, what would you do if you didn't know what that word is? Oh, we'll just click on Natural Reader, highlight it and listen to it back. So things like that are really powerful when everyone can see it's being used for everyone there. And just need a cloud-based system for organisation. So that's what I've been showing you today with OneNote Digital Jotter. So the OneNote can either be set up as a personal notebook, or the teacher can set up a class notebook, which is a fantastic way for easy distribution of resources there. So that is my very quick abbreviated presentation, just in terms of we're keeping to the time scale today. Let me put my camera back on here. And we can have a little chat, see if there's any questions. So it's a great tool to support the transition of a primary 7 pupil going up into high school. For me, it's the one that gives more ownership to the pupil, gives them more flexibility, and the built-in assistive tools to support literacy difficulties. It's dead easy to set up and to personalise and to get discrete feedback from the teachers there. So we want this transition from primary 7 to S1 to be as smooth as possible, and make that jump from having one teacher who knows the pupil really well and supports them really well, and they're confident and comfortable there, to now having lots of teachers there, and for them to still feel that they can cope with the workload and reach their potential with the support of familiar technology in place. So does anyone have any questions on anything I've covered there? Thanks to Paul, he's put a couple of really good links in the chat box there. Are there any tools to help pupils access modern language? Yeah, well, even if I just go back and have a look at our Immersive Reader, if I go back to this website here, Mrs. McKinnon, and go to the last bit, the reading preferences. So we have the ability to translate. So I've got any of 60 languages there. So let's say we've got some Ukrainian families here. I can just translate the entire page into a different language. And in the same way, I can use the similar supportive tools and then have it read out loud.
Бути вегетаріанцем. Для більшої частини світу вегетаріанські дії.
So that's just a very simple example there of some translation tools in Immersive Reader, but there will be other things there just yeah, to help. That's certainly one in terms of translation. I understand there would be more than just translation you might be looking for there. Good, thank you for your comment, Maxine. It is always just a reminder. I mean, people are probably very familiar with the term Immersive Reader, but haven't maybe had the time to explore it or get their head around it. So it's good to have the chance to have a little example of there. Sarah's asking about Natural Reader. I'll just quickly bring up the website there because it's on our website. So Maxine, it's under our information tab here, and then text to speech. Scroll down the page, and if I click on here through to Natural Reader, it will give you a bit of information about what it's about. There's actually a download link as well, and how to get the best out of it, changing the voices as well. So always in schools, I mean, a lot of schools that have got Natural Reader on, but for some reason teachers might not be aware of it. So go and have a good look to see what's on your system. You might have Ivona mini reader, which is one that's been there a long time. You can no longer download it, but it certainly can. It would still work if it's on your school computers. It will still work there. There is a Natural Reader app for the iPad. What I always think is, because text-to-speech is built in the iPad, I can just quickly give you see what that looks like. So if I go to a website here, go to a website on, let's say we're looking up about something about the Romans, just a quick example of, this is what the website looks like. We can't activate Immersive Reader on this actual website, but what I can do is I can go to the top here with the small a and large a, click on that, and then click on the top option, Show Reader View. And again, it does this same thing. It just gives me a nice clear interface here. And then I don't need Natural Reader to read it out. All I'm going to do is just put my finger down on the word and highlight the words there, drag out the bar. When I lift my finger, I've now got the chance to click on Speak, and it will speak it out.
Facts about Romans.
And just will highlight out. So that is absolutely essential. In fact, I'm going to show you where it is on settings, because there's so many schools out there with iPads that don't have it switched on, and it's a one-time switch on and absolutely should be on in all iPads. So let's just go exactly where it is. Into the settings cog. Down the left-hand side, we're going to go to this one here, accessibility. And down the right-hand side into spoken content. And these are the ones you want switched on. Speak selection, speak screen, and that highlight content, I always put that on because it will give you the highlighting of the text as you go along there. Oh, good, Mrs. Thompson, you say that they're using that. That's great on their devices. Paul's putting in a link to a Passport or the Reader Pen website, so that's a good one. It'll give you some ideas. The other one I was going to just quickly bring up and show you was in terms of talking about digital curriculums. It might be useful, this document, to have something like this, just for the teachers to be thinking ahead, you know, and looking to see for pupils that are going to require a digital curriculum. So what are the texts so that these resources can be provided to the pupil with dyslexia? And in terms of sourcing books, there's different links here, and I can share this document with you in terms of looking at our Books for All database. If the book's not there, then the RNIB Bookshare is another great place, free to register, to find accessible text there. So lots of good planning and thinking. It is just thinking ahead and trying to make that transition that bit easier for your primary 7 pupils there. And Immersive Reader extension for the Chromebook. Yeah, we've kind of talked about laptops and iPads just now, but there are other tools there. We have an app wheel on our website there. I think that was part of our rolling introduction there, just in terms of, so you want to scan that QR code, you'll get to our downloads there. So that's 4:30. I don't want to keep anyone any longer, but just to say thank you very much for coming along. I hope it was helpful, and you'll get a recording sent to you. And please do look at our website, because all our other archive webinars are sitting there waiting for you, free to download. A great half-hour bit of professional learning that hopefully will be helpful for you. And thank you so much for your support of all your pupils with additional support needs. Thank you very much. Thanks, Robert, for doing the recording, and thank you, Paul, for joining in as well and adding all these really useful links. Okay, bye for now, everyone.